to Apocalypse News Now. I'm your host, Maddie Stewart, and I've got some breaking news coming in this hour. Marcy Brannigan, sole surviving United Nations minister and newly appointed leader of the survivors, is expected to address this group in just a few short moments. Stay tuned and we'll take you there live. Hello everyone, thank you for coming out this afternoon. My name is Marcy Brannigan, and I am the sole surviving member of the United Nations. Up until the apocalypse began, I worked with the United Nations, helping to improve and stimulate economies in impoverished countries. I was taking a vacation visiting Wolfville, Nova Scotia when the apocalypse really ramped up, and now I've been stranded here ever since. A group of me and about 500 other survivors have massed in Wolfville, and we expect zombies will be arriving in the next 2 weeks, so I'm holding this press conference to answer any questions and concerns you may have about our plans to survive. Does anyone have any questions to start us off?
Hi there, my name is Melissa Crawdad, and my question for Miss Brannigan is, what are we going to do in the 2 weeks we've got to prepare for when the zombies get here?
To answer your question, Miss Crawdad, I have 3 short-term goals that I believe we can accomplish before the zombies arrive. These goals are defense, housing, and food. Here's a map of the region that I think we can maintain as zombie-free using our 500 survivors. I have established some regimented borders that will be patrolled 24/7 to ensure no zombies enter the region. My second goal is food. Our region is lucky enough to have 2 fully stocked grocery stores. This provides us with more than enough food to sustain 500 people for 2 weeks. Now, all perishable food such as fruits and meats will be preserved to make it last longer. All canned food will be rationed out at specific meal times to make sure no one is ingesting too much or too little. And my third goal is housing. Until now, we've all been camping out at the local high school, formerly known as Horton. We are lucky enough that Horton is located just up the road from the old Orchard Inn, which is now abandoned due to the apocalypse. This inn can house 500 people in total, with 400 staying in the main inn and 100 in the 29 cottages surrounding the inn in the woods. Rooms in the inn will be granted to families with young children and seniors and those with critical or serious injuries. All others will be living in the cottages simply because they are a little bit colder than the main inn. This takes care of our housing problem. At this time, I will open the floor back up to any more questions that anyone might have. Yes, you back there with the hat.
Hey, my name is Pearl, and my question, Miss Brannigan, is how are we going to produce electricity in our new region?
That is a great question, Pearl. Now, basically, Horton High School is the only building still equipped with electricity at this time. They run on geothermal gases, so their supplies and their energy wasn't cut off when the rest of the world stopped producing oil for us. However, the rest of our region is not on an oil bed as far as I'm concerned, and so we are going to have to use completely green and renewable types of technology. We have solar panels that will be set up on all the buildings once people are able to move out of the Orchard Inn. We will also have plans to create a hydroelectric dam in the waterfront park, which will generate electricity for our small region. Another thing we can plan to do is construct windmills along the Ridge Road, which has a higher elevation, making it more windy, and we will cut down trees so that there is less wind barricade. I think because we are a small population of 500, this will produce more than enough energy to run all needed services. Who would like to ask the next question? You?
My name is Rex, and I used to be a coal miner. My question for you, Miss Brannigan, is what's the political organization of this new state going to look like?
Well, Rex, I can outline quite quickly for you a basic structure of what our political organization will be like. We're assuming we're the only people left in existence. This means that we won't be in competition with any other groups other than the zombies for resources or land. Our new region will maintain a relatively compact figure, as a fragmented state would be simply too difficult and dangerous to maintain. The region is small enough that it'll be run as a federal state with a centralized government building. Boundaries have been outlined in short-term objectives, and as time goes on and zombies are eradicated, we will look into expansion and eventually re-establishment of countries existing before the outbreak of the zombie pandemic. Alright, and now we will move on to another question. Does anyone else have something they would like to ask me? Yes? My name is Amelia Von Pembroke, and as a woman of government, I want to know, what will the government look like in our new state? Very good question, Miss Von Pembroke. To answer it, the establishment of a government will be democratic. Anyone may run on any platform, and because we're existing in such a small area, you will simply vote for who you want to be the leader. The leader who is voted in will then organize a cabinet out of various other party members. This cabinet is to be diverse, and gender parity needs to be maintained. Government policies may vary based on which party gets elected into the leadership, but there are a few basic human rights that we think need to be maintained. These are total racial, religious, marriage, and gender equality, freedom of speech unless you are preaching hate, violence, or prejudice. Total religious tolerance is to be practiced by all different religious groups, and these groups must respect differing viewpoints and others, and follow all other basic human amendments. These basic rights also include the human rights proposed by the United Nations before the apocalypse destroyed everyone else.
My name is Charles, and I want to know, what kind of taxes are we going to be paying in this new state?
Well, Charles, to answer your question, a taxation system will be set up to pay for public services, including healthcare, infrastructure, school, justice systems, and more. The amount a person is taxed will depend on how much they make per year. People who make more will be taxed a greater amount, and people with a lower yearly salary will be taxed less. Those making under a certain amount a year will not be taxed. These taxes will not come into use until a functioning economy has been set up and is being run efficiently. Until this time, governments will maintain and pay for these. Next question, please. Yes, you way in the back there.
My name's Gina, and I want to know about food sustainability. How are we going to feed everybody?
Well, Gina, that's a good question. Our region actually lends itself very well to farming. Because it's such a small region, we're going to need to use intensive farming practices in some areas. Each family will be required to maintain a small area of land that will be devoted solely to farming and food production. On the dike lands, we can use extensive farming practices to help produce corn, grain, and cattle. We'll use organic farming methods because food doesn't need to be transported far, and we will maintain a small population so that organic food will produce enough to supply us all with food. Other fields in our region will be used to grow apples, pumpkins, and squash. Alright, so we've got time for a few more questions now. Who would like to ask the next question? Yeah, you go ahead.
Hello, my name's Farmer Rose, and I'm wondering about the economics of this new state.
So to answer your question, Rose, a variety of job opportunities will be made available to those put out of work by the apocalypse. The large project of a wall construction around our entire region will provide many jobs and help stimulate the economy. Another project that will employ a large amount of people is the construction of a hydroelectric turbines in the Wolfville Harbor. This will help produce energy for our region. Other employment opportunities include traditional jobs such as production and distribution of goods and services, including food, textiles, and technology. Because our region encompasses Acadia University, the smarter members of our group will be tasked with finding a cure for the zombie virus. We'll be able to use all the university's labs and their resources in this endeavor. We can expect our economy to progress quickly because of little competition and outside influence. The economy won't start in a pre-industrial phase either, which will help speed along growth. Alright, so I'm ready for another question. Who would like to ask one next? Sure, you over there, you go ahead.
Hi, so my name is Guava, and I guess I'm just wondering about like the culture of our new state. What's that going to be like?
Alright, so very interesting question. I guess to answer that, we've got a very diverse group of people, and we need to be very accommodating of this. Our new state will practice total religious tolerance, however maintain a complete separation of church and state affairs. The official language of our state will be decided based on what the majority speaks. This language will be taught in schools, and the official language of government, trade, and commerce. The population will be encouraged to practice their own traditional holidays and practices unless these practices are deemed disrespectful or oppressive. We are striving for preservation of cultural norms that existed before the apocalypse so that they can be reestablished once the crisis has passed. However, we are looking to abolish classism, racism, sexism, and homophobia in our new state, which we think will be easy based on the smaller population. So I've got time for one last question. Yeah, you go ahead.
Hi, my name's Kathy, and my question is, how is our region going to distinguish itself as a new self-governing state?
Alright, great question to end off on. Basically, I guess, so we don't know whether or not the zombies, whether or not they speak English. So we're going to give ourselves a new name. We've studied the land, and we know that they grow a lot of apples here, so we're going to call our land Apple Ridge. It's because it's characterized by a big ridge, and we grow a lot of apples. So that means, like, for instance, Horton High School, Apple Ridge High School now. I think that sounds kind of nice. Got a nice ring to it. So we're going with that. We're also going to build a giant wall all around our region. Not to sound like any fascist presidential hopefuls down in the United States, but it's going to be really big wall. Keep all the zombies out. If you're a person, obviously we will let you in. It's just to keep the zombies out. It's a defense thing. We're not going to speak a new language or anything. I don't think that's necessary. That's basically it for how to distinguish ourselves, but we are the only group of people left in civilization, which I think makes us distinct in and of itself. So that is all I have to say today. I hope I've answered all your questions satisfactorily, and I will talk to you all soon. Thank you. Have a good day.